Dysgraphia. What is dysgraphia? Dysgraphia is a neurological disorder that appears when children are first learning to write.
If a student has difficulty writing, it may be a sign of dysgraphia. Compared to other learning disabilities like dyslexia and ADHD, dysgraphia is not well understood. There's just not a lot of research yet. But we do know that for children who have dysgraphia, it can be a serious obstacle to academic success. According to the National Center for Learning Disabilities, dysgraphia can impair a person's ability to write, spell, and put thoughts down on paper. The condition may be characterized by strong thinking skills but weak writing skills. And there are signs you should look out for: difficulty gripping a pencil, slow, labored writing, poor spelling, irregular letter sizes and shapes, inconsistent spacing, and a mix of upper and lowercase letters. It's easy to forget about dysgraphia and dismiss poor handwriting as sloppy or lazy, but that's a real problem. Students with dysgraphia may already suffer from low self-esteem, high stress levels, and difficulty forming friendships. So what should teachers do? First and foremost, be supportive so that students are encouraged to work on their handwriting. Teachers can also provide large pencils or pencils with specialized grips, let kids use tape recorders, speech-to-text software, or computer keyboards to capture their thinking, give additional time for writing assignments and tests, consider assigning alternatives to writing such as oral reports, and help students practice motor skills by playing with clay, for example, or tracing letters.
So there's actually 3 types of dysgraphia, and the first one is dyslexic dysgraphia, and that is when there's difficulty with spelling when writing. The second one is motor dysgraphia, and that is when there's insufficient fine motor skills. And the third one is spatial dysgraphia, and that is when there's a lack of understanding space. So what are the symptoms of dysgraphia? Some symptoms are difficulty forming letters, slow handwriting development compared to others, inconsistent writing, difficulty when writing and spelling, slow writing speed. So this is a quote from this video by Abigail Lee, and she said, "From the time I was diagnosed with this learning disability, people have never understood what I have had and the challenges I face."
I can guarantee that most of you have never heard of dysgraphia, which is completely normal due to the fact that only about 5% of people in the US have it. But I would like to change that today. Throughout elementary school, I always struggled with my academics. I was always just told that I wasn't trying hard enough, but everything finally made sense when I was diagnosed with a learning disability called dysgraphia. You might be wondering what dysgraphia even is. Well, it's a learning disability that affects the part of the brain that forms and analyzes words. The textbook definition for dysgraphia is an inability to write coherently, but that's not all it is. It also messes with your spelling, memory, reading, writing, comprehension, and sequencing. A quote that explains this in an amazing way is by Ian Aerosmith. It says, "Think back to a time when you had to write an essay for school, but experienced crippling writer's block. It might have lasted for a couple of hours or even days, but in the end, you probably hit that moment of inspiration when the ideas started flowing. Now imagine reaching that point but having no ability to write down your ideas." This is how an individual with dysgraphia feels. Dealing with this on a daily basis is very difficult. Having this makes school much harder, and it also affects everyday things. Say you're reading a book. It might take you 2 minutes to read a page. Well, it would take double the time for someone with dysgraphia to read that same page. Another example is handwriting. If you have ever seen my handwriting, it looks like a 5-year-old wrote it. This is due to the fact that writing is very hard for a person with dysgraphia. But because I have had to deal with these things for a while now, I have found some things that help with these challenges. The one thing that helps the most is learning through technology. Because writing is so hard, I type things out. By doing this, I have an easier time getting my thoughts out and onto paper. I also use things like Siri to help with my spelling. These might not be big things, but they make a huge difference when it comes to learning. From the time I was diagnosed with this learning disability to today, people have never understood what I have had and the challenges I face. Because it is so uncommon, it makes sense that people don't know what it is, and so therefore they don't understand someone with it. But I hope that by talking about it today, more people know what this learning disability is and how it affects people.
Data and research. 1 in 5 children have dysgraphia, and 66% of people don't know or have heard of dysgraphia. Last one, 75% of children with dysgraphia are male.